Well, hey guys, welcome back to the channel where it's all about racing. Today I've got a really special car for you. I have a 143 scale Spark model, that of McLaren's 720S GT3, which you can probably tell by looking at the shape of this, even though the livery might confuse it a little bit. From JP Motorsports, as competed at the Circuit Paul Ricard 1,000 kilometer in 2022. Now guys, what makes this car really cool and really unique, other than the fact that it's a McLaren, which is pretty cool in itself, is this is a 143 scale resin car. It's mounted on this cream colored base, and as you can see, it adopts this special livery JP for kids, which we're going to talk about in some detail. As you can see, the box is divided between pink and blue, as is the car. As you can see, drawn right down the middle, one side pink, the other side blue. It's a slipcase with open-sided ends where you can see front and rear, and the back of it has the cool JP for kids kind of livery, which I think is really neat. You see things like the sun, a rainbow, bunny ears, cars, kids dancing, sailboats, and maybe a cool island ice cream, all sorts of cool stuff. And the bottom of it even, whoops, flip it upside down, even has somewhat of the dazzle of the livery, although it's to show you have licensing from Spark, McLaren, etc. Now in the monologue, I mentioned that JP Motorsports is a Polish racing team that in 2022 supported disadvantaged children through a campaign called JP for Kids. You can clearly see that on the car. And for the 2022 Circuit Paul Ricard 1,000 kilometer, this McLaren supported a special pink and blue livery on both the car and the driver's overalls. Now the team's motivation for the special livery was this: Children's Day on June 1, and to make privileged people in motorsports aware and thinking about children of whom do not have the same opportunities as other kids. Now, money for the campaign was delivered through three means. First, there was an auction. The drivers' overalls were auctioned off, and there were 6 of them. I'll talk about them in a moment. Then there was a donation. The team set up an account for donations to support the campaign. And thirdly was through the sale of miniatures. Spark Model produced this 143 scale miniature of both the 112 car, which you see right here, and the 111 car, which I do not have available for purchase, but Dark Knights in England does have. And he has reviewed this car previously. I think maybe even a year ago. He was way ahead of me on this. I've been sitting on this car for about 6 or 7 months. I don't know why. But as you know, I don't open them until I review them. So, there it is. Now, this car, the 112 car, featured 3 drivers. And if you flip it around, you can see the drivers' names right here. First, there was Patrick Krupinski of Poland. Maciej Blazak, also of Poland. I hope I got that right. And Joe Osborne of the UK, a McLaren works driver since 2018. Now, you'll notice one thing when I take a look at this car, and you'll also see it emblazed on the number panel, is gold. The 112 car was previously a silver category, but moved up to gold because they added Pro Drive for Joe Osborne to it. And you'll see gold on the back of the car as well. Now, I mentioned they have a 112 car, or a 1111 car, excuse me. And the 1111 car features pro driver Christian Klein, former F1 driver from Austria, Vince Abril, French monogas driver, champion of the 2015 Blanken GT Championship, and Dennis Lind of Denmark, European and world champion of Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and nephew and cousin of Jan and Kevin Magnussen. Excuse me. Now, taking a close look at this car, this being a Spark, it's just spectacular. You hear that with every Spark car I've got, but they're just really good. Things they do well. I mean, it's unique livery. It's one of the reasons I bought this car, other than the fact that it's a McLaren, and McLarens are always cool. If you take a close look at it, the grille work is nicely done. You can see it's perforated. It has fog lights that are very nicely done. Now, the headlights were somewhat of disappointment, as I think the glue got a little heavy on the corner of each of these. Thus, it's a little glazed, and you can probably see that by looking at it. But, you wouldn't notice that overall. You do have the tow hook on here very nicely, and you have a gorgeous carbon fiber, trim front splitter on the car. One of the cool things about the McLaren being a rear engine car is it has the radiator up front, and if you look down, you can clearly see the radiator through the hole in the bonnet, or the hood, as we call it in the UK. And the Fanatec GT Challenge has the name of the driver and the running order on that 3 number LED panel that you see on the windshield, which is very, very cool. Now we'll take a look at the blue side next. And notice I talked about this was in the gold category. You can see that on the number panel more clearly probably here than you could on the other side. The wheels are very nicely done. They're black, and you can clearly see the brake calipers and the rotors through that. And I also like how they have the air valves, colored, so you can find them quickly to check air pressure of the tires, which is regulated. You can see the dive plane on the nose of the car there. You can see a lot of the grille openings, and it's really, really sharp. If you take a look this way, you can see this. I don't know, it almost looks like a flying buttress you see on a Ford GT, which I'll point out with my finger right there. And if you take a look into the cockpit, which is really, really hard to see, you can clearly see the seat, and you can see that through there. And you can also see the steering wheel, but it's hard. The top of the car looks really, really cool with 3 aerials. If you take a look at it from the top view, which I'll do right here, you can clearly see the blue and the pink all down the sides. Very, very nicely done. The boy side, if you can see on the hood, you can see a little boy figure in blue and a girl figure on the pink side. Cool, I think. Now, one thing you notice in here, this is not a limited edition model, which kind of surprised me, because usually if it's not a Le Mans model, it is limited edition. But seeing this, they're trying to raise money, they probably made 10,000 of these as opposed to 300 or 500 as they typically do. So I get that. No problem with that. Onto the car, really, really cool. Rear diffuser, gorgeously done in carbon fiber. It just looks sharp. You can see the tow hook again there. The gold, labeling you have, letting them know this is a gold driver or a gold lineup, comprised of 2 amateurs and 1 pro lineup. You can see the exhaust pipes and the very nicely done tail lights on the car. I really like the wing, JP for kids. It sees clearly on that, really, really sharp. And if we turn it around to the pink side or the girl side, there you can see that very much the same as the blue side, with the exception that you have the fuel input right there on there. Very, very cool car. Well, folks, that wraps it up. Hope you have enjoyed this. Dark Nights, yes, I finally got my car out. Hope you've enjoyed this. I'll see you next time with yet another race car. Bye-bye.